doing something else. So go ahead and adjust that. So welcome, welcome. Thanks for those who are just joining. I think I had a little bit of a user error slash beginner stuff going on earlier. So I am still trying to adjust to recording using my computer as opposed to my phone. When I used to use my phone, it was much easier. Push a button and everything was okay. And I was trying to see if there was an easier way to do this. By using two cameras, but it looks like that's not going to be an option, at least not today. So let's go ahead and just so and which is what we're going to do here. So welcome back to So What, the Imperfect Sewist. Today I want to show you how to make a simple mini tote bag. So with that in mind, let's go ahead. I did put the instructions in the last slide, but if you didn't see it, I'm going to go ahead, and my chair does squeak, so that's what you're going to be hearing quite a bit of in the background. But I have the other camera there that I was going to use to show you guys additional stuff, but it looks like that's not in the cards today, but that's fine. Sometimes things work out and sometimes they do not. So in this case, it is what it is. We will do what we can and ensure that you're still able to get something out of this life. So if you saw my posting earlier this week, I put in the post that you will need two pieces of a 16 by 16 inch fabric. So this is my first fabric here. It's 16 inches by 16 inches. And then I have another fabric, which has a little bit of lint on it. And it's also 16 inch by 16 inch. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this piece of fabric here. I'll move this a little bit to the side. Actually, let me move it over here. Hopefully you can still hear me just fine. You have this piece here and you're going to fold it in half. And the next thing you will do is you'll take the half. So this is the opening where you fold it, and then you'll fold it again. So basically you're creating another square. This one here, you will also need the webbing, which is cotton. I'm using, in this case, cotton webbing. You can use nylon webbing if you want. There is no right or wrong answer. This is 28 inches, but it's going to be for two handles. So it's going to be approximately 14 inch per handle. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut this in half and set it aside so that we can continue to work on the other piece. I'm using my Guggenheim gentle giants, small giants, little giant scissors. If you have cotton, you may need to go ahead and use some lighter to kind of, like cigarette lighter to burn the ends, just so it doesn't continue to fray. It's up to you, but it does fray, especially if it's cotton. The nylon ones tend to stay a little bit more in place. But now I have my two pieces and I'm going to set those aside. So the same things we're doing here, we're going to do to the other one. So I have this piece here, which is also 16 by 16. And for the non-Americans watching this is approximately 40 centimeters. We in the United States, we work off of inches, but I will share the dimensions. As for the webbing, wait, that's 28. I'm not even sure. I can't do the math, but it's going to be a little less than 11 inches, so maybe about 10 inches. I'm not sure. So for the webbing, for the 28 inches, so you'll need 5 inches per, or let's see. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to try to figure this one out. So anyway, so we did the fold in half and we did the other fold in half. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use our fabric markers to mark this off and set it for exactly what we want it to do. So let me see if I can actually get the camera to focus. Well, no, I cannot. So let's see if this is an option. Okay, so it looks like my computer has a little bit of time or a hard time thinking through this. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this and I'm going to measure. So this is supposed to be a perfect square, which means I haven't folded this properly. And remember last week when I was talking, you do need to make sure that you're ironing your fabric. So you can either iron it here or iron it later, because I don't want this podcast to be over an hour long. I'm going to go ahead and let's pretend it's already ironed, even though you can see it's wrinkled. So this is what it looks like when it's folded. And we'll take this in equal parts, and we're going to measure from the end, and I want to make sure it's truly equal, which is why, and at the end of the day, I may need to iron it just so that everything looks equal. So I'm going to measure from the fold, from the edge here to here, and I am measuring approximately 5 inches each way. Okay, so from the edge there, I'm going to measure 5 inches, and I will show you what that looks like. So my marking is on here, 5 inches from the edge. This is the folded ends here. And then I will take this on the other side and do the same thing. Okay, so 5 inches from the other end. Okay, so I have it marked there as well, right there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a perfect square. So I'm going to go in 5 inches. And from my first marking, I'm going to measure 5 inches as well. And I'm just going to draw a straight line there. So this is what it looks like. So it's 5 inches down and 5 inches this way. And I'm going to go ahead and cut it. So I'll use my cutting mat here and my rotary cutter to cut that. So I'll be right back. Sorry, because we're having technical difficulties. You don't get to see my lovely, absolutely gorgeous cutting mat. But you're not missing anything. It's full of stuff right now. So okay, so this is what it looks like. Okay, so I have this little L shape here, and I'm going to take this, open it, so now it looks like a cross. I'm going to take this and put this together. We're doing the inner lining. So I'm going to put this together, and it's going to create a V, and I will do the same thing on this other side here. And then what I'm going to do is sew straight lines down. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and sew straight line. And remember, my rule of thumb, if you're new here, is that I use black thread to make it easier for those who are watching this to see what I'm doing. Okay, so we have this first part, and we're going to repeat the same thing on the second part right here. Okay. And as far as the allowance I'm using, the seam allowance, it's a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Okay, so both sides are now done on the V-shaped side. Let me bring it back a little bit. We're going to take that, open it up, and repeat the same thing on the other side. So when I'm done, it should have a little bit of a cut like so. So we'll take that, put both sides together, and go ahead and sew down. So we will do this and then repeat the same thing on the other side. And I promise you at some point I will figure out this whole camera situation. I have the OBS Studio app, and I thought everything would be working. I tested it out yesterday, and it seemed to be okay. It seemed to work okay. However, just now when I first started the live, I could hear myself, but I could not see myself, which means if I can't see me, you can't see me. Okay, so now we have all 4 sides sewn, and this is what it should look like. just like so. Okay, so this is like a perfect little square. And we're going to take this and set it aside and repeat the same thing on this side here, which is the pattern side, the printed side. So we'll take this and measure 5 inches from the fold down. So we'll measure 5 inches from here to here, 5 inches from the top here to the center, and then we'll put the lines together and do a perfect square where we cut it. Okay, so like I said, it's always the best laid plans. And if you're new here, can you tell me a little bit about your sewing journey? What got you into sewing? I'd love to hear. I love to hear people's stories. For me, mine is pretty simple. I've told it multiple times. I had an aunt who liked to sew and knit and crochet, and she decided that I was going to be her protege. So she basically taught me everything she knew about sewing. So I credit all my sewing skills to her. She's since passed on, and but I'm very thankful for the skills she left me with. So that's my sewing journey. So I knit, I crochet, and I sew. That's kind of my thing: knitting, crocheting, and sewing. So don't throw out the square pieces. You'll find that there are multiple things you can do with this, and those are perfect 5-inch squares, which you can use for other projects. So please don't throw them out. You will eventually have use for it. Maybe not in today's project, but over time, as I continue to do little projects, I would love to be able to use this. I never waste fabric because there's always a need to use it somewhere else or for something else. So now we have the same L we had before. This is what it looks like. And when you open it up, I cut it the wrong way. See? No worries. It just means we're going to cut another 16-inch by 16-inch. But in the meantime, we're going to go ahead and attach our, this is why they call it the imperfect sew. So we're going to take this and we're going to fold it like so. And we will attach our area here for our cotton webbing. So I'm going to take this and mark, because each side should measure approximately 5.5 inches. So I will just mark some places that I want it to sit in. Eventually this is going to sit on the inside, so it's okay. And before we do that, I want to take this webbing. Now I'm a little lost because this is what happens when you get a little turned around. We're going to measure 1.5 inches from the top of this here. So I'm just going to take this and measure approximately 1.5 inches. And I will do the same thing on the other end. I want to do 1.5 inches. So what I'm going to do is, for this area where I have the 1.5 inches, I'm just going to sew down a straight line, and I'll explain why I'm doing that for my marking. So I have that right there. And I will do the same thing on the other side. So I want to create a rope-like handle, which is why I'm doing that. Okay, so now I have it and it sits just like so. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and sew a straight line down this so that it can sit like this with the handles flat when you sew it. Okay, so we're just going to fold this in half and then just do a straight line. Again, don't come for me. I am using black thread because it's easier to see on a screen versus using matching threads. And for beginners, I find that useful because it helps them see what is happening. So if you have any questions, put it in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them. Okay, so this is what it looks like with the handle. And when we put it together, it's going to sit like this. Okay, so we have that. I'm going to take off the excess threads here and then get more fabric to make my piece complete. Just taking off the end threads here. And this should take, for a beginner, it should take no more than a half hour to do this. I try to keep this to things that you can do, you as a beginner can do. So we'll do that, and then we'll repeat the same thing on the other side. We'll take our ruler and mark 1.5 inch from each edge, because we're going to have 2 handles. And then we'll fold it with the marking on the inside and go ahead and just sew down a straight line. And this part is relatively easy, so I don't... I lost my gentle giant, or my little giant. I love these scissors. Ever since I got them, it's been like my go-to. These are the Guggenheim. I'll go ahead and pin them for you or put it in the description so that you can pick up a pair if you are interested. But they're sharp and they do exactly what you need them to do. Okay, so now we have those sides together, which is basically our end sides, and now we're going to go ahead and sew this straight down flat. So I should mention, if you want to use clips to hold this down while you're doing this, while you're sewing this in half, you can also do that. Don't feel like you can't. Okay, so this side is also done. I'm going to go ahead and take off my excess threads before I get the other part. And I promise you, this is like, with the exception of the mistake that happened, it would have been almost 10 minutes to finish this up. So this is now what we have. We have a second handle here. Oh, I need to take off this thread here. I didn't realize I missed a piece. But not to worry, it will be corrected. So now we have these 2 pieces that we're going to use for our handles. So we'll set these aside now, and I will cut the other piece of fabric to get this together. And in the meantime, if you have any questions or anything that you are curious about as far as your sewing journey, please feel free to leave them in the chat. I will be more than happy to answer them when I get back. YouTube tells me there's a taking a break feature, so I'm going to use that as I do the cutting, so you're not just watching a blank screen. So let's see how to do that. Let's see. It's giving me the option for it's giving me all the options except for the one I need. Because when things are needed, I can never find them. Channel level settings. Close. Okay, so it looks like y'all are going to be here while I do my cutting, so come along. Okay, so this is my fabric piece. I'm going to go ahead and cut 16 by... Oh, that's a long piece of thread. I wonder where it came from. Or, I'm not sure. Interesting. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and cut this another 16 by 16. So for me, the easiest way to do this is to cut an 8 by 8 piece, which just makes my life easier. And no, I'm not going to toss that other piece. I will use it for something else. So hopefully you can still hear me. I'm just going to quickly measure and cut an area that's 8 by 8. So we'll do 8 that way and 8 this way. Okay. And so typically I just fold and cut in a square. That. It's usually easier when you have this pre-cut, which is kind of what I had in the first place. It was pre-cut, and it got it's easier to work with that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and cut, and then I'll be right back with y'all. If you're following along this, if you've come this far, you're doing a fabulous job. All right, so this is it. I have my 16 inches by 16 inches, and now I'm going to go ahead and measure approximately 5 inches and 5 inches. Okay, so I'll do another square. And okay, I think I got the cut right this time. And if I didn't, well, I guess the live will end shortly. And we'll have another imperfect sewist moment. For those who don't know, I really, all right, so it's right this time around. So we're going to go ahead and take this now. So when you fold it like this, you're going to, we have our square and we're going to get this. So I'm going to fold this in half and sew down one way. And I'll do the same thing on this side and sew down the other way. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll set the other piece aside, which is what we're going to be using as the inside. So for those just joining, thank you, welcome. I had a bit of a snafu, which is why this is a little quirky. So we take this other part now and we're going to sew a straight line down here. So basically think about it like a cube. It will look like a cube as we go along, okay? So, but I promise you it's a tote bag. Maybe a square tote bag. Okay, so now we have both sides sewn down. So this side is sewn down and this side is sewn down. We're going to take that square and open it up and repeat the same thing on both sides. Okay, so we'll do that. And we'll do that, and then it will start to look like the square I mentioned earlier. So just put them together. Welcome if you're just joining. We're making a mini tote bag today. And I did have 2 cameras initially set up, but my camera settings were not working with the streaming device I have. So, and I thought I had done a lot of learning over during the week and watching TikTok and YouTube videos on how to get this set up so that I could get 2 cameras. But I'm clearly missing a piece here because it didn't work when I first started the stream. So all right, so now we have the square, which is now looking like this. We're going to take that. I'll take off the excess pieces using my Guggenheim scissors. So again, I love these scissors. They are sharp, they work great, and they do what they're supposed to do. And they're ergonomic too, because even just holding them, it feels good and comfortable. Like I don't feel like my fingers are going to hurt if I use them for an extended period of time. Okay. And then I will do the same thing on this other piece, which we sewed earlier. I'll take it off my excess threads. If you're just joining, please feel free to ask any questions, and hopefully you're able to follow along. So we'll take this, the wrong side. So this is the right side. We'll take the wrong side, and we're going to take this one, flip it to the right side. So it's going to be right sides facing each other, right? And then we're going to match the pieces. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take this and put it inside and match the edges. And for this, I mean, I recommend you get sewing clips or pins, but since my pins are the closest to me, that's what I'm going to use to mark it, and mark it with the B. Okay, so we're going to mark it and make sure you are putting your sides, your edges together. Don't forget we have a handle that we are going to be working with. So that comes in a little later. Okay, so this is what it should look like with the pieces all pinned up. Now we're going to take the handle and put it on either side. So just choose what side you want to put it on, and just make sure it's equidistant. And you're going to be putting it upside down because you want it to come up on the other side. So we're going to kind of just feed it in between here. And I like to put it, you know, like about an inch away from my edge. So I'm going to do that and pin it. So this is what it's going to look like. I'll bring that a little closer so it makes sense to you. And then the other one, I'm going to make it about another inch from my edge. And when I say my edge, I'm talking about this line here. Okay, so about an inch from there. And then I'm going to pin it there down so that I know where it is. And then I am going to look for the complete opposite side of where that one handle is, which is this one here. And I will take the other handle that we sewed, flip it, and put it flat inside, just like this. So I'm going to put it in between. It's a lovely little tote bag that you can use. And if you have little ones, I bet you they're going to want to play with it. So, and it's an inch, about an inch from the edge. I'll take that. I intentionally made the ends flat to make it easier for you to work with. So we'll take that about an inch from the edge and we will pin it down. All right. So now while we do that, before we go ahead and sew around, I want to also leave an opening. So I'm going to use my marker, my fabric marker, to identify where I want the opening. And the reason for that is because, you can do it without using a fabric marker, but if you forget and sew it, there is no way to bring it, to turn it inside out. So I typically would leave about a 2-inch area there. So I've marked mine off about that. And I will go ahead now and sew around, making sure I catch my handles. So let's go ahead and do that. And don't forget, I know a lot of people do this. I am not a proponent for it. Do not sew over your needle or your threads. I prefer that you take them off because for safety reasons, okay? So I'm going to take off my pin there. As I work, I take the pin off just so I don't run into any problems overall. And if you're struggling with your sewing machine catching both pieces of fabric, you also have the option to also just take off, at least for a brother sewing machine, you can take off the inside area there to give you a little bit of room to work from as far as being able to have this wrap around your sewing machine. So we're just doing a circle around this here, making sure we catch all of our pieces. Okay. All right, so this is fully sewn around, and we have our opening that we had in here. And I'm just going to make sure that I cut all my handles, which they're right there, and cut the handle on the other side right there. So now I'm going to use my little Gentle Giant to take this excess thread off and turn this inside out. So when I turn it inside out, I have the option to also top stitch, okay? Turning it inside out is, you can top stitch if you want. You can leave it if you don't want. I think top stitching will give it a little bit of a more finished look. So I do encourage you to do that. So this is what it's looking like. So this is your little tote bag. I will do a top stitch. I think it will look much nicer. And it will allow me to close out this. So we're going to go ahead and just do a top stitch around everything to allow me to close it out. If you know how to do a ladder stitch, you have the option to do so. But a top stitch will make sure that it looks more finished and more refined as you work through this. So if you need a crayons bag or a little tote, say your little one is going out, you can put some snaps on the ends on either side. This would be a great one for them to have, and it's a beautiful and easy beginner-friendly project. You just need 2 pieces of fabric, and it's reversible, so you can use it on either side, either the all green side, or you can flip it and use it on the printed side. And we're done. Thank you for watching. I think without the snafu with the cutting situation, we would have been done a little less than a half hour, but I'm glad you stuck around with me to watch this and help watch me finish this off. So thank you for watching, and be sure to hit the subscribe button before you go. But this is our square tote bag. So what I like to do is because at the bottom here it's about 5 inches, 5 by 5. It's complete square, and it's a good mini tote bag. I will get a piece of cardboard and just put it inside there just to make sure that it lays flat. Or you can just have this anywhere on your desk. You know, it's a very good and handy big bag that you can use. You can put clips, I mean snaps on there, put a snap there and use it like so. But this is a great and a fun little project to make. So if you have enjoyed this, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and thank you for watching. And I will see you next week. I do have a quiz out to see what you would like to see. Either you want me to do a wristlet or to create a boxy bathroom makeup bag out of placemats. So be sure to click on that and tell me what you would like to see next. Have a wonderful day.